about an occasion when someone had said to you that they had good news. Perhaps it was a text that you'd received, or something that you'd read on social media, or even a friend or family member told you face to face that they had good news. What did you do? The last thing you would have done was to ignore it or dismiss it, or put it off and read it later. No, you would have wanted to know there and then what the good news was in order to celebrate and to tell others. And the book of Mark is all about good news. Don't take my word for it. The opening sentence says this: the beginning of the good news. The book of Mark is a book in the Bible, in the New Testament, and it's all about good news. And what is this good news? Well, if we read the whole sentence, it says this: the beginning of the good news about Jesus the Messiah, the Son of God. The good news is about a real historical person, Jesus, a man who lived and walked on this earth over 2,000 years ago. And this news is better than achieving good grades or winning a race. It's better than discovering that a friend or family member is engaged or is having a baby. It's better than being cured for cancer. It is the best news ever. And it's good news because of who Jesus is. Mark writes that Jesus was more than a man, more than a mere man or historical figure. And he uses the title Messiah, and some translations use Christ, and a title that is more impressive than Sir or Lord, more impressive than Prime Minister or President. Because Messiah or Christ means God's chosen king. And that's why it's such good news. And it was controversial to say at the time that Jesus was God's chosen king, because the emperor was the king of the Roman Empire at the time. But Mark calls Jesus the Messiah, God's chosen king. And I wonder what you make of this. You might think that Jesus was a madman, that all of this is absurd and made up. So, interesting legend, but no relevance in the real world. So, why should I listen? You might think that Jesus was a real historical figure, but no more than a mere man who lived and died. So, interesting history, but doesn't really make a difference to my life today, here and now. So why should I listen? Well, I used to think that too. For 21 years of my life, I was born and brought up as a Hindu. And yes, I'd heard of Jesus at school and from friends, but actually, regardless of whether it was all made up or whether it was historical truth, what difference did it make? That's what I used to think. And then some Christians back in 2005, they challenged me. And they said that Jesus was more than a man, and they urged me to investigate the truth by looking at the claims that he made in the book of Mark for myself. And they said, look, you've got nothing to lose if it's fake, but everything to gain if it's true. And so I tested these claims. And they were right. It was the best news ever. And I've never regretted it. I've never looked back. And I'd like to appeal to you today to test these claims for yourself by exploring the good news of Jesus in the book of Mark and to make your own conclusions. And if you think in the end that it's false, well, you've only lost an hour or so tops looking at some videos on YouTube. But if it's true, you've got everything to gain. He will change your life. And these videos are going to be exploring three questions. Who is Jesus? Why did Jesus come? And how do we respond? And there'll be some contact details at the end of each video if you'd like to know more or discuss things further or hear more about the church.